Don't look now, but there's something funny going on over there at the bank, George. I've never really seen one, but that's got all the earmarks of being a run.
Hey, lady, you got any money in the bank, you better hurry.
George, let's not stop. Let's go.
A minute there.
Uh-oh.
Please, let's not stop,
I'll
George.
be back in a minute, Mary.
Well, hello, everybody. Miss Thompson, how are you? Ollie, what's the matter here? Can't you get in? What is this, Uncle Billy? A holiday?
George.
Come on in, everybody. That's right. Let's come on in. Come on, Jimmy. Now, look, why don't you all sit down? Here, there are a lot of seats over there. Just make yourself at home.
George, can I see you a minute?
Why did you call me?
I just did, but they said you left. This is a pickle, George. This is a pickle.
All right, now, what happened? How did it start?
Well, how does a thing like this ever start? All I know is the bank called our loan.
When?
About an hour ago, I handed over all our cash.
All of it?
Every cent of it, and still was less than we owed them.
Holy mackerel.
And then I got scared, George, and closed the doors.
The whole town's gone crazy.
Yeah, hello? George, it's Potter.
Hello?
George, there is a rumor around town that you've closed your doors. Is that true? Oh, well, I'm very glad to hear that. George, are you all right? Do you need any police?
Police? What for?
Well, mobs get pretty ugly sometimes, you know. George, I am going all out to help in this crisis. I have just guaranteed the bank sufficient funds to meet their needs. They will close up for a week and then reopen.
Just took over the bank.
I may lose a fortune, but I am willing to guarantee your people, too. Just tell them to bring their shares over here, and I will pay 50 cents on the dollar.
Oh, you never miss a trick, do you, Potter? Well, you're gonna miss this one.
If you close your doors before 6 p.m., you will never reopen.
Now, just remember that this thing isn't as black as it appeared. I have some news for you, folks. I was just talking to old man Potter, and he's guaranteed cash payments to the bank. The bank's going to reopen next week.
But, George, I got my money here.
Did he guarantee this place?
Well, no, Charlie, I didn't even ask him. We don't need Potter over here.
And I'll take mine now.
No, but you're thinking of this place all wrong, as if I had the money back in a safe. The money's not here. Well, your money's in Joe's house. That's right next to yours. And in the Kennedy house, and Mrs. Maitland's house, and 100 others. You're lending them the money to build, and then they're going to pay it back to you as best they can. Now, what are you going to do, foreclose on them?
I got $242 in here, and $242 isn't going to break anybody.
Okay, Tom. All right. Here you are. You sign this. You get your money in 60 days.
60 days?
Well, now, that's what you agreed to when you bought your shares.
Tom, did you get your money?
No.
Well, I did. Old man Potter will pay 50 cents on the dollar for every share you got.
50 cents on the dollar?
Yes, cash.
Well, what do you say?
No, Tom, you have to stick to your original agreement. Now, give us 60 days on this
Okay,
thing.
Randall.
Are you going to Potter's?
Better to get half than nothing.
That's what I need.
Tom! Randall, now, Randall, wait a minute. Now, wait. Now, listen. Now, listen to me. I beg of you not to do this thing. If Potter gets a hold of this building and alone, there'll never be another decent house built in this town. He's already got charge of the bank, he's got the bus line, he got the department stores, and now he's after us. Why? Well, it's very simple. Because we're cutting in on his business, that's why. And because he wants to keep you living in his slums and paying the kind of rent he decides. Joe, you had one of those Potter houses, didn't you? Well, have you forgotten? Have you forgotten what he charged you for that broken-down shack? Here, Ed, you remember last year when things weren't going so well and you couldn't make your payments? Well, you didn't lose your house, did you? You think Potter would have let you keep it? Can't you understand what's happening here? Don't you see what's happening? Potter isn't selling, Potter's buying. And why? Because we're panicky and he's not. That's why. He's picking up some bargain. Now, we can get through this thing all right. We've got to stick together, though. We've got to have faith in each other.
But my husband hasn't worked in over a year, and I need money.
How am I going to live until the bank opens?
I got doctor bills to pay. I need cash.
I can't keep my kids on faith. I've got to have...
How much do you need?
Hey! I got $2,000. Here's $2,000. This will tide us over to the bank reopens. All right, Tom, how much do you need?
$242.
No, Tom, just enough to tide you over until the bank reopens.
I'll take $242.
There you are.
That'll close my account.
Your account's still here. That's a loan. Okay. All right, Ed.
Well, I got $300 here, George.
All right, now, Ed, what'll it take until the bank opens? What do you need?
Well, I suppose $20?
$20. Now you're talking. Thanks, Ed. That's fine. All right, now, Miss Thompson, how much do you want?
But it's your own money,
Now,
George.
never mind about that. How much do you want now?
I can get along with 20, all right.
$20, fine.
And I'll sign the
There you are.
papers.
You don't have to sign anything. I know you. You pay when you can. That's okay. All right, Miss Davis.
Could I have $17.50?
That's your heart. Of course you can have it. You got 50 cents. There we go. 7.
We're gonna make it, George.
6.
They'll never close us up today.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bingo! We made it. Close the door, Eustace. We made it. Look, we're still in business. We still got $2 left. Well, look, let's have some of that. Let's celebrate.
In 1932, Washington was under siege. The capital was surrounded by over 10,000 unemployed veterans of World War I from all over the country. Their only assets were the bonus certificates they'd been given after the war, which promised a cash bonus sometime in the future. They needed it now.
I came to Washington to get my bonus, and I'm going to wait for it till I get it if I have to wait till 1945.
What that brought you to Washington?
Well, to beat the Undertaker, spend the money before the Undertaker gets it.
I know who's made this country worth living in. It's just you fellas. Look, makes me so damn mad a whole lot of people speak of you as tramps. By God, they didn't speak of you as tramps in 1917 and 18. No. Take it from me, this is the greatest demonstration of Americanism we've ever had. Pure Americanism.
President Hoover was left to deal with the veterans when the Senate rejected their demands. The marchers had stayed, camped out in central Washington.
It's war, the greatest concentration of fighting troops in Washington since 1865.
I knew something was going to happen, that they might be attacked. And I had a press card, so I passed the police lines, and then I saw the soldiers advancing into the camp. And when confronted with this, the men all stood there and said, "Stand firm as long as you can." And they started throwing tear gas. I'd never seen anything like it. They systematically went down the line, burned up all the tents, and all the possessions of the people there. I was thinking of Herbert Hoover when this happened, because his election was in 3 months. I thought this would be the finish of Hoover.
The orders of the president must be obeyed, and the roaring flames sound the death knell to the fantastic bonus army in the shadow of the beautiful dome of the Capitol of the United States of America.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, passed the, anyone? A tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, anyone, raised or lowered? Raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
As the United States slid into depression, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was one of many policies adopted by President Herbert Hoover. The sharp negative effects that followed came as a shock to the bill's sponsors.
It was passed towards the beginning of the Depression, and its proponents, Smoot and Hawley, said it would actually help mitigate unemployment and revive the economy. And of course, the economy just got much worse. Partly that is due to Smoot-Hawley itself. A lot of countries retaliated against the U.S. So that meant U.S. exports fell just as much as U.S. imports did. In fact, exports fell even faster than U.S. imports. So it really added to the contractionary impact on the U.S. And it bred a lot of ill will against the United States. Other countries resented the fact that here was the world's largest economy, a creditor country that was trying to get other countries to repay their debts, and yet we were stopping them from in terms of their ability to repay those debts by earning the dollars that they needed to pay back those debts. So other countries resented it, they struck back at the U.S., and the whole world trading system sort of collapsed, in part because of this act.
These outcomes came as no surprise to economists of the day.
1,000 economists wrote to President Herbert Hoover asking him to veto or not to sign the Smoot-Hawley legislation, and he turned them aside. Economists really did predict what would happen. Trade would collapse, there'd be increase in trade friction, other countries would respond and retaliate against U.S. exports, it wouldn't help out farmers at all. And yet it passed, the Depression got worse, and the reputation of Smoot-Hawley just went down the tubes from there.
Smoot-Hawley was just the beginning of a protectionist wave in Congress.
Most farmers were export-oriented. They sold their crops overseas rather than face a lot of import competition. And once Congress got going on this, they raised not only tariffs on agricultural goods, which really didn't help the farmers very much, but on industrial goods as well, and the protectionism just went amok in the U.S.
Since the predictable devastation that Smoot-Hawley brought, most presidents, Democrats and Republicans, have been largely free traders. Franklin Roosevelt inveighed against the act during his first presidential campaign.
Presidents have sort of looked not to any particular section of the country in terms of what their trade interests are, but try to figure out what is the national interest in terms of trade, and have supported trade liberalization, getting other countries to reduce their trade barriers as we reduce ours through the general agreement on tariffs and trade and what have you. And presidents from Democrats from Lyndon Johnson, Bill Clinton, to Republicans, Bush and Reagan, have always hearkened back to the days of Smoot-Hawley as a bad thing that Congress did in terms of trade policy, and that we're trying to warn people away from protectionism, the siren song of protectionism, which sort of seems there's this allure that it might help the economy, but really in practice makes things much worse.
My most vivid memory, connected with an old radio song, I associate with the time that Aunt Bee and her then-boyfriend Chester took me into New York to the movies. It was the first time I'd ever seen the Radio City Music Hall, and it was like entering heaven. I just never saw anything so beautiful in my life.
I hope I never waken. It's more than I could bear to find that I'm forsaken. If you're a fantasy, then I'm content to be in love with lovely you, and pray my dream comes true. I long to kiss you, but I would not dare. I'm so in the air, so